Hello and welcome back to the Egg Attack Podcast. As always, I'm your host, the totally canon Grey Jedi, Jay, and joined as always is my co-host, superfan who just won't come to terms with that, Z. How you doing today, Z?
That was an accurate one. You know I hate Grey Jedi.
Oh, I know. That's why I
They don't
did it.
exist.
It was very accurate.
They're not canon, and you know it.
They could be, though.
Uh-oh.
Isn't it canon Legends or whatever? I don't know. I'm not a nerd. Anyway, so we watched Green Knight this week. Today, actually, when we're recording this. And actually not recording in the middle of the night like we normally do. So we're actually have some sort of energy. Maybe? In our bones. We'll see. Let's do general thoughts first before we get into the nitty-gritty. Thought it was a little weird.
I also thought it was a little weird, but I can't say I didn't expect that. I guess we knew we were getting into it, right?
It is an A20. Again, this movie is, I guess, spoilers first off. And it's an A24 picture, so kind of an indie studio. They do weird movies. So I didn't expect this to be like a Marvel movie at all. I expected it to be kind of like artsy and kind of weird, but I'm like, oh, that's Camelot. They'll probably just do like cool shots of castles and stuff. And it was kind of weird.
There wasn't much of that.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I agree. The trailers, I would say they convey mostly what the movie's like. I guess I was, if anything, just kind of hoping there would be a little more than the trailers show. But again, I wasn't disappointed or surprised by what it ended up being.
Yeah, I was not surprised either.
Yeah, it's definitely a little weird. There's some quite weird sections in particular. After the fact, right? You and I looked up the traditional poem of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and that's different. It's a lot the same, but I think there's different details added in here. The whole part with Winifred in this movie, that's not
in the poem.
Yeah, at all. That's just described that is like a medieval story, but it's not usually involved in the Arthurian legend at all.
Is that given to Gawain, who is the knight in this story?
But yeah, I don't know. I was mostly good for the most part. It was a little too ominous and almost. I mean, I don't want to say scary. It obviously wasn't a horror movie or anything, but they really dialed that up sometimes. Like, ooh, it's spooky. What's going on?
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of just A24 is kind of that's kind of a lot of their movies.
Yeah,
except for I guess probably the Florida Project. I guess not all of their movies, like the Florida Project or Good Times. Both pretty good movies. I've seen.
Lady Bird is
That's true. Lady Bird also isn't spooky.
Over the top, yeah.
But a lot of their most famous ones, like Midsommar, there's one with the sheep.
Yeah, I think they did Hereditary as well.
Hereditary, The Lighthouse. Those are more ominous and spooky.
Yeah, they are. So I guess again, shouldn't have been surprised. I guess I was hoping for a little more actual Arthurian knight stuff, and there was almost no knighting to be had.
Yeah, he's just not a knight.
Yeah. Also, that's something they talked about. So the unique spin on it for this movie is somewhat the timeline stuff of it, I guess. So obviously it's not a story about Arthur, so they don't get to do a lot of that because we don't know about his extended family and all that, and none of the other knights they seem to all be present. Obviously the dudes sitting at the table are presumably all
the knights of the round table,
but
none of them are named.
They're not named, or they don't really do much.
They don't have any lines. They just pull out their swords when the Green Knight comes.
Yeah. So we don't get a lot about Arthur's fall. But the thing I was saying is this setup where Gawain is young and not yet a knight, while Arthur is old and dying, is not really the traditional way of it.
Also, the way in which I guess who knows who's in on the Green Knight, because in the story, it's Morgan Le Fay who sends it to scare the Queen.
In the original, but the poem. I mean, yeah, in
the poem. Apparently,
the motive was to literally try to scare Guinevere to death. Which didn't really work.
It didn't really work. But in this story, in this movie, I keep saying story when neither of these are really the traditional book stories.
Yeah.
In the movie, the Green Knight is just kind of Arthur. It's implied to just be King Arthur kind of controlling him, and his mother, him and King Arthur, and maybe probably the Queen are all in on it. Because, I mean, if you think back...
So is that how you took it?
Yeah, because I just think about it now, because, Arthur kind of, the one it builds up to, his mom doesn't go.
Yeah.
And then...
She's doing her magic.
She's doing the summoning on Christmas Eve, which is a big part of the story. And then Arthur's like, "Oh, tell Gawain to come here." And then the Gawain comes, and then he's like, "Hey, do you have a story to tell me? What? I need to know you better." And he says, "I don't have a story." And then the Queen says, "Yet." And then when the Green Knight arrives, she's the one who opens the letter and speaks.
I thought, this is what I took from it, that was all his mother manipulating all those people. Because there was, I don't know if you noticed it, but there were certain times where I don't even know how to describe it. the camera, it would get all dark. The shot would get dark, and like it was just this weird like kind of circle that was illuminated around like different characters.
Right. Yeah.
And like a weird color would kind of wash on. I took that to be like Gawain's mother was like I don't know, possessing them or influencing them or something with her magic. So I don't think that Arthur was in on it. I think he was also potentially like a puppet, like because that part where he's walking around, like he's giving his little speech where he's walking around the table and being like, "Oh, my friends, did someone tell me a story?" His mother is in her little witch coven, walking around doing the same thing.
Oh,
and like I think there's a couple times where it literally shows like her speaking and then him speaking. So I think that was all her like controlling him. I don't know, but the Green Knight is still confusing because like, did she create that? I mean, obviously her ritual there involved like plants and shit
and magic, yeah.
So like, did she create him then, or summon him, or did he already exist? I don't. It's not super clear.
But then at the end, like he does when in the movie when he goes to cut off his head, and like he's like, I'm ready, and he doesn't do it. He like kind of wipes his face and he goes, "Okay, you're honorable now. Like you're a knight." Mm-hmm. But that's the same thing that King Arthur does to him before he leaves on his quest.
That's true.
So it's like, did she infuse it using Arthur like in a way like it's like a not like using a piece of Arthur, so it's kind of like he's Arthur, or it's confusing.
I think, and we don't get a lot of this because there's not a lot of the surrounding story of the Arthurian legend. But the conclusion I came to was that it was all orchestrated by his mother, who you said in this movie, in like you saw it on IMDb or something. She just said it just says that she's Morgan Le Fay.
On the Google casting, it just says it's Morgan Le Fay, which sometimes it can be wrong, but.
We looked it up. Traditionally, in the story, his mother is Morgan Le Fay's sister, and her name's like Morgause or something.
Yeah, they're often confused for each other.
But yeah, that's something we did read, is that a lot of times in modern interpretations, they're just composited together. So whatever. So his mother is, at any rate, like a witch. And clearly has like iffy relationships with Arthur. In the traditional, in like the Arthurian legend, Morgause and Morgan Le Fay hate him. So like...
Yeah, a lot. And
they would stand up. So I think this was all like a plot by his mother there to try to get him to be king, maybe.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so like she orchestrated the...
Wouldn't he'd be king anyway? Because they don't have any children.
That's kind of how it seems. In this version, he doesn't seem to have an heir, regardless. So
yeah,
I kind of agree, but I think maybe it was like, well, I'm going to set up this scenario where this knight that's my own creation comes in, and then I'm going to make all of the other knights scared, because that seemed to be a thing that happened. Like all the other knights, like that again, that same kind of thing washed over. Then I'm like, okay, she's influencing them to not stand up, even though presumably one of them would have.
Yeah, if not all of them would have.
Yeah, because they're good guys.
Yeah, they're like,
it's like their whole point.
The Knights of the Round Table. It's the whole
so
point.
Then it gives her son an opportunity to be like a badass, and then she also, before he departs, gives him that sash that's supposed to protect him from any harm. And so she's like, all right, I'll give him this opportunity to be a real badass, and then also give him this sash so that he was never even going to fall to harm regardless, and then he gets to come back and be king, and that's sick, because I hate Arthur, and I want my son to be king instead. That's kind of the thing I got from it. Again, though, they don't really go into a lot of this. It's, it's an edgy indie thing. So
artsy film, so it's...
lots left up to interpretation.
And also there are just giants.
Yeah, the giants are weird.
Like, he just walks up a hill, and there's a bunch of giants, and they try to talk to him, but he has this magic fox that is, like, protecting him. Well, I also think it's just his mother following him and keeping an eye on him, which is why it starts to speak.
Yeah.
Another thing that's weird, and that comes up a lot in Arthurian legend, because we were, reading about it just before this episode, just kind of get a better idea, is that they have Catholicism because they celebrate Christmas, and they, like, pray, and they have, like, the Holy Mary, the Virgin Mary. Yeah. But also, his mother just does actual witchcraft, like, actual just magic. Mm-hmm. Like magic is just real, and many other people just do it. Like, Winifred just is a ghost who appears to him. Like,
she's also a saint.
She's also a saint. So it's real strange.
I think this is a side effect of like a lot of the stories that eventually made their way into Arthurian legend were originally secular stories, like as in like prior to Christianity, like pagan stories, I guess, right? Like Welsh and British and like Saxon pagan stories that then like over the years they're like, all right, we'll fold this into Arthur. So like I think I was reading The Green Knight was originally a story that just was unrelated to King Arthur, and then like the character of Gawain as like a knight is like this ancient like hero, but then they were like, all right, we'll make him one of the Knights of the Round Table. It's just one of those things where I think over time they kind of start to meld them together, and so there's these remnants of all this, this weird like
witchcraft, magic.
Witchcraft and like pagan magic, but also God is just real, presumably.
With Catholicism, like Jesus is real and all that stuff.
Like one of the big stories in Arthurian legend is them finding the actual Holy Grail.
Yeah, it's like Indiana Jones 3. It's just they actually find it, and Lancelot's bastard son gets to go to heaven.
Yep. So, I don't know what the giants were.
Me neither. I don't get it.
For that matter, there's a lot of the little like side stuff on his way to the main thing of it. It's like I don't know what they were. Maybe I'm just too dumb. It's said that in the original story, all those little detours are opportunities for Gawain to show
how good he is as a person. Yeah, which is very a traditional like hero's journey kind of thing. Like there's like, oh, just go to this place, but on the way obviously he gets detoured because it's not really that good of a story if he just leaves his house and gets exactly where he needs to go in a timely fashion. But in this one he just gets like he like pays a guy and then he's robbed, so he doesn't like get anything from it, and then it's just a lot of weird stuff.
It's almost like they subverted it by showing that he's really not like a perfect great knight. Like almost every one of those little detours he kind of fails like in some way. He stumbles a little at least. So like in that one, I guess like a real like traditional Arthurian knight would have been more generous to the little kid, I guess, or the boy, whatever he was.
Teenager.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that like the problem?
I don't know. Because it takes him a minute to do it, he has to be reminded.
Like, and then when he meets Winifred there, it's like, did he? Because there's a few parts where she like rebuffs him because she's like, why? Because he goes to touch her or whatever, which is weird. And then like he asks her like, what are you gonna give me? She's like, why would you ask me that?
And just give my head.
Why would you ask me that?
Yeah.
So like maybe that's him failing because like if he was a real good knight, he wouldn't.
He would just
ask
do it
for reward. He would just do it because it's the right thing.
Yeah, because he knows it's the right thing to do.
What else? What's before the little kid?
Nothing.
Okay, so that's his first.
The first thing is
the giants though. I really don't get. I don't know what the moral there is.
I don't know. Like
maybe he's like that then is like him being like, hey, can you carry me? Because he asked them. He's like, can I just ride on your shoulders? And they're like, no, you gotta do it yourself. You gotta walk.
Well, they're gonna do it. The fox doesn't let him do it.
Oh, I guess you're right. Okay, so you took that to be that the giant was gonna pick him up and just carry him, because I thought maybe the giant was about to smush him.
Yeah, I mean that probably might have happened because he's so small.
Yeah,
like inadvertently that might have occurred.
And then when he gets to the castle with the lord and the hunter lord guy and his wife
and the weird old lady who can't see,
he obviously fails there because like we're reading in the original poem, he successfully rebuffs her each time, and in this one he does not. Yeah, he just has sex with her. Yeah, he succumbs to her feminine wiles, and then
she also takes a picture of him with like a old time.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I don't know why there's a painting of his face that's covered.
Yeah, you're right. I kind of forgot about that. I don't know what that comes to be. Nothing really comes to that. It's weird, man. It's always weird.
It's a weird movie.
And then the end. The end was probably my favorite part. Is when he gets to the Green Knight, and then the Green Knights. And this is also from the traditional story. Is that he goes to cut his head off, and he stops him, and then he goes to cut him again. He stops, and then on the third time, he runs in the movie here. And you just see like a fast forward version of his life from that point. He returns. Arthur makes him his heir. He gets Excalibur. He becomes king.
He has a son.
That bastard son of his with the prostitute that he was with. They take it, and then he raises it, and then he marries like presumably some
princess from another land. They have children.
His son dies in war because he's fighting these perpetual wars. Which that is a thing of Arthur. We were just talking about like the whole kind of the thing about Arthur in like the legend is that he does have to lose at the end. Like Avalon has to fall because it's like perfect. Like that's the whole point of Camelot. That's why it's like practically metaphorical at this point, right? For like the perfect kingdom.
Yeah, the perfect king,
and so it has to fall at the end because otherwise it's like I guess it just lasted forever.
Yeah, it was retained forever, like
which it obviously did not. So like that thought was interesting because like this is what happens to Arthur. Like Arthur dies in battle, like fighting wars for his whole life, and it's kind of like the whole thing. Like fantasy in general, I think, grapples with this a lot more now. Like, it's a lot more contemplative. Although, then again, obviously Arthur is like one of the... the Arthurian legend is one of the oldest works of, like, English fantasy that exists, so...
Yeah, exactly.
But nowadays, fantasy is very contemplative about this, right? This idea that, like, you can't just fight forever. A lot of fantasy works that are, like, more recent that I'm thinking of, like, they end up a lot of times introducing, like, democracy.
Yeah, they just come up with, like, a way to fix it. Because you can't just fight forever.
Because, like, obviously a staple of fantasy is, like,
kings.
9 times out of 10, it's, like, a medieval-esque setting, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, like, Lord of the Rings or
Song of Ice and Fire or the Stormlight Archives.
Yeah, exactly.
Jinx.
It's a like a medieval-esque setting, which means that you have, like, monarchs and knights and shit. And usually the monarch is just king, because it's a hereditary monarchy. And then, like, in A Song of Ice and Fire or the Stormlight Archives, it's a thing they deal with. It's like, are kings good? Like, kings can be good? Can kings even be good? Like, the Lord of the Rings
has no qualms about
Yeah, they have no qualms. They're pretty much just like, no, Aragorn is king, and he was the best king.
Yeah.
I mean, real good.
It almost kind of has to be, though. Like, especially King Arthur and Lord of the Rings are very similar in that way. I think for a very important reason is because they're kind of the first. Because King Arthur's, like, as we kind of mused on before the show started recording, so it's kind of the first quote-unquote fantasy as we know it. And Lord of the Rings is often held as, like, the first kind of, like, magic with elves and dwarves, like, that kind of fantasy that, you know, has taken different shape throughout the years. And so I think you kind of have to have no, this is good and there's evil and, like, black and white to have the gray. Like, you can't just start with A Song of Ice and Fire.
Course.
You know?
But so, I did like the whole montage of him living out his life as king, and then his kingdom falls, right? His son dies in war, and Camelot falls, because, like I said, it always has to fall. Like, that's kind of the point. The knights all presumably die, and then they, like, leave him at the end.
He's left alone.
His wife, and then he removes
the sash he got.
And so his head falls off.
I'm glad that wasn't the end of the movie. I really thought they were just going to end the movie like that, because it seems like kind of like an artsy film subversion direction to go, and I was like, I hope they don't actually do it. And they didn't. He
finds his courage.
He gets the honor.
I did like that. And then, but then it does still end on, like, a bit of, like, a non-conclusion there, right?
Yeah.
He finds honor in that he removed the sash and, like, willingly lets the
Green Knight hit him,
right?
But then he doesn't. And this one, he just doesn't hit him. He doesn't,
or he's about to, I think. Yeah, so we read that in the normal version, on the third swing, the Green Knight hits him, but, like, barely grazes him. And he's like, you're the best knight, Gawain, you did it. But again, in this one, he isn't the best knight. So he's
not even a knight.
Well, no, he's not even a knight yet, yeah. So, like, I don't know if there's any reason for the Green Knight to take pity on him in that way. I don't know, it's interesting. I guess that's why they didn't show it, is so, like, we can sit here and think about it as, like, is he gonna just kill him or not? I guess I would lean towards probably not. Like, it'd be weird if, at the end, Gawain finds his courage and decides to remove the
thing that would save him, for sure.
And not deceive the Green Knight. And then the Green Knight does just kill him.
He's like, I guess I'll just keep doing what I was gonna do. Be a weird way to end it.
So, presumably he doesn't do the things that he did.
Yeah, he just marries that girl.
Yeah, maybe
And just makes her queen, and I think probably still becomes king, but he's a good king.
Maybe, yeah.
Camelot probably still falls, though.
Probably, yeah. Again, that's kind of like the whole point, is that it can't last.
Also, it seemed kind of warm for being around Christmas. There was a noticeably lack of snow.
A couple times.
Because in the beginning of the movie, when it's Christmas, there's a lot of snow everywhere and it's cold. But then when he goes out on his quest, it's been a whole year. It's like almost exactly a year. So it should just be snowing again.
Because after the year, the reason, like, the moment that he realizes how soon it's approaching is he's, like, outside and it starts to snow, and he's like, oh, shit.
It's already starting to snow.
It's about to be Christmas soon. I have to go do that. But then you're right, it doesn't snow, which is weird.
Also, and when he gets to the Green Knight, it's just full of vegetation, and it's all kind of, like, dry.
Yeah, it's true.
And the stream isn't frozen that he paddles on.
Actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, it's not wintry at all.
Yeah, there's, like, no snow.
And England gets cold.
England's real cold.
It's not like England's, like, a place where it doesn't get cold.
It, like, rains all the time there, so if it's cold enough for the rain to freeze, it'll just snow all the time there.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're saying the movie's terrible. 0 out of 10.
Nah, it wasn't so bad.
No,
it was fine. Yeah, again, I guess I hoped it was more of, like, a rollicking adventure. We were reading about how usually Gawain is, like, one of the more, like, again, like, better knights, as in, like, he's a really good chivalric guy. But he's also one of the more, like, martially successful ones.
He's got a lot of martial prowess.
He doesn't show that at all in this one.
No, he's also, sometimes they give him superhuman abilities that make him magical.
We were reading about
They make him in the daytime he's undefeatable. By noon, like when the sun is at its highest, he's undefeatable in battle. Like no one can hope to best him. But in this one, like a bunch of beggars just beat him up.
Yeah, I didn't like. I thought for sure the way that was gonna work is like he was gonna just beat them all up or kill them, and then like he would feel bad about it. Like he'd be like, "Oh shit, I killed those people." But I thought that's how it was gonna go. But no, they really get one over on him.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna pick up the axe and then accidentally kill each other.
Yeah, maybe.
And because like it's magic and enchanted, so they wouldn't be able to take it from him. But that guy just takes his horse and the axe and just leaves.
Yeah,
like he doesn't get it back at all, or it's real strange.
Yeah, I don't know. It's again, I guess you should just know what you're going into this.
Yeah.
It is like a weird indie film. So I will say, I didn't mention this yet, but I did really like the costumes.
Oh yeah, a lot. I mean, everything like I think everything else was really good. Like
the round table was cool. I don't know if I've ever seen like an interpretation of it like that, where it's like hollow,
like stone, like it's like a stone,
it's a big stone table. I feel like it's usually not hollow,
like a big wooden table.
Yeah,
like
it's a big wooden
true table
that's just like flat. But the idea that you can like walk in the middle of it's kind of neat.
I liked the way their crowns were, how it had like the halo on them.
I was gonna say I really like the crowns. I liked, in particular, in that sequence where he's like seeing a potential future, as it turns out. I liked how he was dressed when he was king.
Oh, yeah, that was really cool.
Like when he went to war for like a second there, and he's wearing like his
chainmail.
Yeah, he's wearing like a chain and armor, but he's also got his crown on. The crowns are cool. I don't know, they're neat. Because it obviously goes off that like depiction that you often see of like medieval rulers where they have like a weird halo around them for some reason.
They're ordained by God.
Yeah, exactly. Because they've got But in this one, they literally have like a halo attached to their crowns, which I don't know. Yeah, I think it's cool. Liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's not really like a proper straight up.
Yeah, if you're a big Arthurian legend guy, like you're not really. I don't think you're really gonna have a good time.
If you're going to this thinking it's gonna be like a cool fantasy movie, it's not really, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of weird and
it's okay.
Half fantasy. If you like A24 movies, you'll probably like this movie.
Probably.
I like A24 movies. I like the other movies. Really good.
I would say I think all the actors did good.
Yeah,
Patel did good.
I agree.
They did that thing. Actually, I kind of want to mention this. They did that thing where it's like a medieval European setting, but they just have like actors of color, which was interesting. I don't know. It's cool. Obviously, Dev Patel is like, I guess, Indian, right? And he's the main character. Erin Kellyman there, who is
Lady
Saint Winifred, whatever. I think she's half Scottish, half black.
Yeah, she's got very red hair. She's in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, she's in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as Carly, and she's Enfys Nest in Solo.
Oh yeah, she is.
But that shit's interesting. I don't know, they never address it or anything. There's like one of two ways you can do that. Is either you have to like somehow hang a lampshade on it and like hang a lamppost. How's that?
Hang a lampshade.
And you have
can't
to
hang lampposts.
No, I guess you can't. And you have to create like a very convoluted reason as to why there are actors of color in your fantasy or historical setting. What's that one show?
Bridgerton?
Yeah, it's exactly it.
That's a lot of those. Or you could just not.
Where they like. I know people have been critical of that because they have, it's like a historical like Victorian setting, right? And they have actors of color, and they like address it, but they address it like in a very simple way.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah, I think I've heard the way they address it. It's just like the king's like, or the queen is black. And the explanation is like, yeah, the king married a black woman, and none of us were racist anymore. Which is kind of like a cop-out. Like, and that's... Yeah. I think that's probably the reason that, like, no one really addresses it. You should just kind of do it, because it certainly has got to be a hard thing to breach. Yeah. Just to explain it.
And it kind of just would take too much time. If you just if you just don't address it,
Yeah. That's almost the better way, I think, maybe. Unless you have a really good story reason, and you have a reason for doing it, I think it makes more sense to just,
this is the movie. These are the characters.
They're just characters who happen to be of this descent.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take away. You still...
No. Yeah.
Or anything like that.
But yeah, we could probably attack onto something else then.
Yeah, not much to say.
Weird movie.
Weird movie. Back onto another weird movie. Amazon's The Tomorrow War.
Yeah.
With Chris Pratt, J.K. Simmons...
this actors,
couple comedy actors that I recognize but don't know the names of. So what'd you think? Zach watched it recently, and I have watched it I actually watched it on the 4th. I watched it.
Yeah, it is a couple weeks old at this point. It's been out for a while, but I just got around to finishing it.
bad.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
I don't think it's very good.
A lot of problems with how they choose to do things. They do things
so
in the dumbest way.
I got a big list here about shit I wanted to say. So, first and foremost, it's an Amazon movie. So, like, you'd think it should have a real good budget behind it, which I assume it did, because, like, a lot of the CGI and stuff did look good, I will say.
Yeah.
But I really disliked the guns and stuff. I'm sure this is probably a thing that won't really bothered me. Like, most people wouldn't take note of this, but I just wanted to mention it. Is, like, this is a thing sci-fi does a lot. As in just, like, sci-fi properties, right? Is that you take guns that are just real modern guns that we have, and then you just, like, throw some weird bits and bobs on them, and then you just act like they're sci-fi now, which I just hate. Because it doesn't work. Because, like, to be fair, in this one they were just guns still, but it's like they have, like, M4s, essentially, which is what, like, our military uses now. And then they just throw a couple, like, a different grip and a different stock on it, and then it's like, no, they're from the future.
They're from 50 years in the future.
It's bizarre. Either they should have an entirely new thing that you design from scratch, or they should just have modern ones. Like, if anything, I would have thought it more interesting that they're sending people into the future with, like, I don't know, like if it was more so that we were desperate and on our last legs, right? And they're just throwing everything they can. Like, they're sending people into the future with, like, World War II surplus and shit.
Yeah.
Instead, they just have like,
Cold War kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be neat. But instead, they just have M4s with, like, weird Magpul stocks and stuff. And when he gets to the future, they aren't interesting at all. It's been, like, 30 years, and they just look like modern soldiers.
Modern military.
They're just wearing, like, fatigues. They don't have, like, cool space armor or anything.
Even when they say when the aliens attack, it's already 30 years after the present.
Yeah, and they got nothing.
Nothing new to speak of.
I will say, like, to its credit, it's an interesting concept. This idea of, like, we gotta send people to fight in the future, right? But I don't think that this movie in particular
does it very well.
Yeah, it does not
at all.
It does not give a convincing reason as to why that should be. I'm sure there's a way to do it. This idea of, like, we have to fight in the future, but this movie does not. It doesn't do it for me.
It just doesn't make any sense, because they know when and where these aliens show up.
Right. More or less.
Yeah, they're here.
That's my single biggest problem with it. Is that in the future, their solution to the problem is we're going to go to the past and just recruit people from the past. Now, I will say, so clearly what we're working with here, we're working with, like, a multiple dimension kind of time travel scenario, right?
Right.
Not like a cause and effect one more so, because when he goes into the future, his daughter remembers a different timeline than him, right? Because obviously in the daughter's grown up, obviously in the future, they don't remember people coming into the past being like, there's going to be aliens, because they would have done something, right?
Right.
So they're two separate dimensions, essentially, which is like, so I understand that.
I don't
the
know
people
if
in
they
the
are,
future,
because they
have to be.
Not really. Chris Pratt and the daughter can have the same timeline, just Chris Pratt hasn't lived it yet.
You don't think, but okay,
you think that the daughter... They're only in the future for 7 days. Remember?
I understand that, but I don't think the daughter or anyone in her timeline, in the future timeline, knew that the aliens were coming. Whereas if they all remembered, hey, remember when in the past the future was like, hey, there's aliens, they would remember.
That's true. No,
I don't think they do. I can't imagine. So it's two different timelines.
Then the ending wouldn't work, because it would have always happened. If it's you're right. I see what you're saying.
So in that sense, I kind of get it, because as, like, an individual, right? If you were in the future and you were like, the aliens are winning, you would want to do something that would save you, right?
Right.
You would not probably, as an individual, have, like, the presence of mind to be like, if we save the past, then, like, this wipes our timeline out or something. Or, like, at least their timeline's right. Like, that's not how humans work, so I kind of get it from that sense of, like, no, they would want to save their timeline.
Yeah, where
not
they live.
The other timelines. So I kind of get that, but what I don't get is how everyone in we'll call it the present, all the world governments agreed, like, yeah, we're just going to start throwing people through the future.
Yeah, they'll just believe
thousands
them
at a time. That was my big thing. Why do they believe them? Because they literally say, yeah, we purposefully did not bring any pictures because we don't want to scare you guys too much.
Yeah, that's very dumb, because then everyone would be like, "Oh, this is a hoax. You're pranking us."
That's what I said. It happens in, like, Europe, I guess, and some soccer game.
Yeah, it's a soccer game they're watching.
So you'd think every other world government would just be like, this is some kind of hoax. Everyone would just think they're being tricked. Like, America would be like, that was Russia, and Russia would be like, that was America. And China would be like,
that was America.
What's going on? UK would be like, what is Germany up to this time?
They're at it again, those Germans.
it wouldn't work.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
This idea that they all just agree overnight, like, all right, we're sending people through the portal. And again, now I understand that, like, that's a bit of suspension of disbelief. Like, you just have to kind of go with it, because obviously, you don't want, like, there to be, I don't know, a half hour in the beginning of the movie dedicated to, like, the...
Politics?
Yeah, the politics of convincing everyone. But...
You never would.
My answer there is just make it more convincing. I don't know, write it differently.
Yeah, let them show pictures.
Write
or, like,
it better.
There's never, like... Yeah, and the way they go about it is real strange because they just throw people who are going to die beforehand into the future. So
literally useless.
Like they're just throwing like middle-aged people
had that exact thought.
And old people.
Everyone they send through is practically useless. Like until Chris Pratt gets there, it seems as if no one else going into the future brings any value. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, other than literally just cannon fodder. But this is not the type of scenario where that even helps. They're just throwing through food for the fucking aliens.
Yeah, they're just making them stronger. They're like
it's crazy. Nothing makes... Again, like, I'm not saying that this concept couldn't work, but the choices that they made just do not make for a convincing plot.
Yeah, it's not a plot make. It's very... bad.
Again, now here's the thing. My thought the whole time I was watching this movie is, why didn't they just stop the aliens in the like? Why, with their new information, surely everyone in the present would be like, that sucks that your future's fucked. But what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kill the aliens when they get here and not let that happen.
Yeah.
No one thinks to do that apparently until Chris Pratt thinks to do it at the end of the movie. And when they got to that point, I was like, great, this is what I've been saying the whole time. But I don't get how that didn't already. How no one else had that thought. Like, good on you, Chris Pratt, but surely he's not the only...
He's not the smartest guy.
Like, come on.
I mean, he's smart. Like, he's like a... He's like a
smart
biology teacher, but like...
Jesus.
You know what else I think is dumb? It's just that, like, it's that classic, like, oh, no one in the government believes us. But why would they not believe you?
They believed all those other losers.
You've been to the... Like, you'd be like, I've been to the future. They told me this was going to happen. Why? And, like, then he's like, oh... Because once... When I remember I was watching with my family, in the beginning of the movie, when he's in this classroom... He goes, all right, guys, what do you want to talk about? And the kid raises his hand, and he goes, guys, what does Emmett always want to talk about? And then I go, ancient volcanoes. And then I paused the movie, and I looked at, my family was watching with me, and I went, they're going to use volcanoes to win. And I played the movie, and I was right. They literally just used that kid. They just do a Chekhov's gun. They use that kid to figure out.
That's another problem I had with it, is that those kids in his classroom who are like, what's the point? We're all going to die. Are right.
100%.
They were right. Like, they weren't right because Chris Pratt wins in the end. But this, to me, it was just so grim. Like, this idea that there's only 500,000 people left. I guess you're not supposed to think like this, but I was literally just like, why would you even bother?
Yeah, it'd be like...
That's so few people that even if they could stop it right then, even if Chris Pratt arrived in the future and flipped a switch and killed all the aliens... 500,000 people is so few that humanity may have been doomed either way.
Yeah, you can't even feel like, yeah, you could all live in New York City, like any major city in America, or even across the world, all of humanity could live in just one spot.
Like, they're already too far gone. Again, maybe that's me being like a pessimist, but like, Jesus. Because I think I said to you at one point, because I kind of watched this movie in bits, at one point I saw you and I was talking about where I was at, and I was like, it was before they even got to the future, and I was like, man, I don't get it. If there's only 500,000 people left, why does Chris Pratt even care? Because, like, unless his daughter's one of the people. And, of course, she was. She did. I guess I should have seen that coming.
She was literally one of the ones.
But, like, yeah, I don't get it. Surely, it's too far gone. Like, what are you... You really would have to be fighting for, like, very altruistically, like, the concept of, like, the propagation of the species.
Yeah, because, like, maybe we'll survive.
If there's only 500,000 humans left, the odds that any one of the people going through the portal to fight in the future is fighting for someone that they know is obviously so very low.
And they're already, and the reason they send people to the future is because they're all already dead. It's to avoid a paradox. Yeah. And
which is interesting. It was kind of interesting, but it really never went any further than that.
Another thing that was dumb is that how they recruit him. They send him to the office, and then they scan him, and they go, "You're gonna die. Bite down on this." And he goes, oh, "What? Hold on, come again?" He goes, "You're gonna die this way. You're gonna die to this date. So you're gonna give us in the future because you're gonna be dead by that point anyway." And he's like, "Hold on, explain to me what's going on." And then they go, "All right, this will help us track you in the future to bring you back. See you around."
Yeah, that really is crazy because of the events of the movie, presumably his death is not gonna come to pass, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't see. This is a thing that I thought was handled really poorly and was probably just unnecessary. But the whole like plot of like his daughter didn't like him in the future because he died and left them or whatever.
He was traumatized by war. This horrible thing he lived through. Like
I think so, right? Like
no, because that's how it says. Because I don't know why they had her do that. Because the movie is set up that her mother, Chris Pratt's wife in this movie, is a therapist who deals with these people. And she says, I see these people every day, and some of them do not speak. Like, they're missing all arms. They're like, they're comatose. They like, their brains are broken. They can't speak. But when her husband comes back, she divorces him because he's crazy, because he's seen the future and there's a bunch of killer monsters, and he had to watch people die in front of him.
Is that what you thought was going on?
That's what I assumed, that he goes kind of nuts, and that like he never recovers from what he saw, and probably because he meets himself. He meets her.
So maybe I have it wrong then.
No,
but that also doesn't work though, because that would mean, I thought, does he just have PTSD from when he was in the army before?
No,
I thought that was that he failed his job or something.
No, I think.
Are you sure? Because before the aliens even happened. Because
the daughter says when you came back you weren't the same, so she remembers when he left to go to the future. So
that doesn't make sense.
Well, this movie
because then in her timeline, that's like a weird loop. Then
that's why.
Because if she remembers him going to the future, then when he was in the future, he should have talked to her and she should have told him that. And in her timeline, he also should have been good and not done that.
Well, yeah, this movie's not very good.
That doesn't make any sense. Are you sure that's...
Yes.
Are you sure that's what she says?
Yes.
Fuck, this sucks.
She said you never should have left.
I thought she just meant, like, left our family. I thought they just got divorced because of some other shit.
No, I think they got divorced because he was...
But that doesn't make any sense. What happened different then? How did he not get crazy now?
Maybe she didn't talk to him? I don't know.
I think you got a little crossed.
I don't think I do.
I think they just got divorced because reasons. And then he left the family because that's what happens when you get separated. And then he died in a car accident or something. I don't know.
Hold on.
The point is, the timelines, they don't really work, and they don't really do much with them. And again, the thing they do at the end, which is just, let's find the ship and blow it up, that's what they should have done in the beginning.
Oh, 100%.
That's like, and I understand that kind of, like, voids the entire, like, conceit of this movie. Like, the whole sci-fi premise of it, which is like, what if we fought wars in the future? But... again, my thing is just, I guess they shouldn't have done that. I guess they should have written it differently so that it was more interesting. Because the way they do it is not good. And also, I didn't mention this yet, but I hate the aliens. They're just really boring. I don't know. They don't do much for me.
I didn't mind them. I thought they were I thought they were intimidating.
That's fine, but like they're intimidating enough, I guess. But they're just intimidating because they just copied every other intimidating alien. Like, I'm just like, oh, it's the fucking aliens from the Quiet Place. A Quiet Place. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're just here to wipe out the planet.
I mean, I guess there's only really two ways you can go when you're doing aliens in a movie. Is like, they can either be intelligent, like, above humans, or they can just be, like, monsters, like, thoughtless monsters. And they obviously went the thoughtless monsters route. But, it just didn't work for me, I guess. What else do I got here?
Oh, no, I am wrong. No, you're right, I was wrong.
So what does it say?
It says here that... yeah, no, he after losing the job. No, you were right.
Oh, okay.
I was wrong. I misunderstood the movie. So the movie, the fact that this happened, the movie is not very clear.
Probably, yeah.
Because they only send you into the future for a week. So it's not impossible to think that he would come back and be bad.
No, okay, so it was the job thing.
Yeah.
But then obviously when he returned and he's done the whole events of the movie, he's like, I won't do that. I value my family.
Yeah, I'm not gonna leave because of my job.
Which is nice. I don't know. J.K. Simmons was okay.
Yeah, he was kind of just mean. Mean J.K. Simmons.
I will say I enjoyed that I really thought they were literally just going to have him kill himself when he's like, no, son, I'm going to do it. He's like, come get me. I literally thought they were just going to have the monster jump him off the mountain. So I was glad they didn't. I was glad that Chris Pratt got him. That's probably my single favorite part of the movie is when the two of them are fighting it at the end. And they're really just giving it hell.
It takes a lot of damage.
Yeah, that was probably the most interesting part of the whole movie.
And they dissolve it.
Yeah, they're using the poison, and they're using their guns.
Another thing I don't understand is when they have it captured in the future and they're doing all those tests on it. Why does it wake up? Did they run out of sedative?
I think she was so like engrossed in her work that she stopped she forgot to give it sedatives.
Why wasn't someone else on top of that? Why was she doing it?
Because the movie wasn't very good.
Oh, that's true. And then he tries to save her. Why would he try to save her? He's gonna go back to the future. Like,
yeah,
it's very just like, because I think his idea is that, if I grab her,
it's kind of like I said though. Like, that's still pretty grim, because that does mean that in the future there is a timeline where his daughter does just die, like, and all of humanity is wiped out.
Yeah, I mean they're all. I mean, yeah.
Unless it's like a timeline, unless it's a scenario where by doing the events of the movie he erases that potential future, but it doesn't. I don't think it can be. I think, again, the way it's presented is they have to be two separate timelines.
Yeah, I hate that. And I think I mentioned this earlier. They did the whole, when he gets back and he's got the toxin in his hand, they just don't let him use it. Like, he's not, when he's like, hey, you got to use it, and here's where you're going to have to use it, they just don't believe him. They're like, what do you know?
Well, no, that was because they were like, we can't get at the future. Like, it's useless. Again, there was the thing of, like, where they're talking to that government guy, and he's like, I can't send you to Russia. And then when they're successful, of course, he's like, it was all me.
It was all me, you did it.
I sent him to Russia because I'm the best. Which that was kind of funny. It just wasn't very good. Again, the conceit of it was interesting.
It's also got an underlying climate change message.
Oh, it does, of course. Yeah, that's fine.
That's how they escape. It's because the ice melts. But they would have escaped anyway. Because that's how...
Presumably, yeah. Again, the sci-fi concept of it is vaguely interesting, but it's not executed very well.
I don't think very well at all.
The action is mostly uninteresting to me as well, so it's just like, what is the point of this?
Why are we even doing this?
And again, the climax of it is not, it does not have to do with the time travel at all. It's just, we're going to fight them in the present.
Fight them on the beaches.
The name is cooler than the whole movie.
Yeah, it's got a cool name, Tomorrow War. And then you watch it, you go, this is terrible. I wish I never watched it. I wish I could go back in time to my past self to never watch this movie.
Yeah, my past self came to my son. He'd be like,
why did you watch that movie and kill yourself? Why'd you ruin our family? Why'd you start drinking after you watched that movie? Yeah. Dad, why'd you do that? No, Dad.
Yeah, not Chris Pratt's best work. I mean, he's fine in it, but...
It's one of those movies, it's one for them, one for you. He does it just for the money. Sometimes he's got to pay bills.
It's also one of those movies... He's just the most generic character ever, isn't he? Like, the most generic action hero. Like, he's the template of
he's Mark Wahlberg.
Heroes. Yeah, exactly. Like, every movie where he's literally... Like, how many times can they do that trope where he's, like, a grizzled veteran who then becomes a high school teacher?
He was a blue-collar everyman.
Also, I complained about this to you, but he was not just a... He wasn't just in the army.
He was in Special Forces.
He was a fucking Green Beret. And then he's, like, in his little interview, he's like, yeah, but it wasn't really a career guy. You know, it wasn't for me. What? You were a Green Beret and it wasn't for you? Like, you just did that as a lark for a couple years? What are you talking about?
You were just like, I got nothing else going on. Let's just become a Special Ops Green Beret.
I'm sure that happens in the military.
Yeah, you just do it to do it. And then
in my experience, the dudes who are only in for a couple years are not Special Forces.
Yeah, because they don't...
Those are definitionally, like, the guys who make a career out of it. Are the guys who, go Green Beret and Special Forces and go on to be, whatever, Delta or... in the different branches if you're like a SEAL or something. This idea of like, yeah, he just did it for a couple years as a lark in the Special Forces. Also,
he's also real good at biology and wants to be a teacher.
Right. It was clearly just like, some Hollywood writer being like, he'll be a Green Beret? He doesn't do anything vaguely reminiscent of a Green Beret. Their whole like point is they specialize in asymmetrical warfare. He did not put that to use at all. I don't know. Real dumb.
Real dumb. Gotta agree.
All right, let's attack into the Bad Batch episode this week.
Episode 13 of 16? 14. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
So we're down to our
last two. Jinx.
Definitely another upswing, which
I was a fan of this episode.
Wish it didn't go like this.
Yeah,
I wish it was a little more consistent instead of us being like, this is a fine episode, and whatever. And then it's like, well, this one's pretty good. This one was way better than last week.
At the end, it was good.
But yeah, this is a good one.
I certainly enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really good.
You got anything to say?
I thought the clone's voice was interesting. His voice was kind of like
Gregor?
Weird and kind of rattly, and he's kind of talked.
Because he's crazy. That's Gregor.
Good on him. Is he from the Clone Wars?
Yeah, he's in the Clone. Well, okay. This is why I asked you if you had anything to say, because I'm gonna be a little ranty here. I got lots of. All right, well, maybe
I'll say more than what I'll say. If you're gonna rant, I'll do my little.
I got lots to dump on you here.
I enjoyed. There's a lot of good action in this episode.
I thought so as well.
But them kind of clearing out. I wish they just shot these guys. They don't use their, because I noticed that it took them a couple. Well, the one guy, I think he's on Delta Force because you're about to go into that.
Delta Squad.
Whatever.
Very much. Delta Force is real life.
I don't care, listeners. The Indians are stunned. It takes a couple stuns to get him.
It does take a couple stuns.
They beat him in the head.
I did like that. I think that was maybe because of his armor.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was. And then I liked in the beginning when Wrecker disagrees with all their points.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, Echo's got a good point. Oh, and Tech, you got a good point, too. Because, the kid's really talking straight to me. I really like it. I thought they're going to do it with Hunter, but then they didn't because Hunter's the leader. I liked how in the first minute they got rid of the whole, we should do good Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, it still came up again, which, again, is kind of, it's almost frustrating at this point. They just keep revisiting that well.
Keep bashing it.
But Echo was the voice reason, which I did write down here, because Echo's my favorite of them. So I like that he was guy.
And then what else? What else can I do to stall this rant? Stalling rant?
I got
really nothing.
Nah, no, you're not gonna. Yeah, all right. So this is
nothing else. So I'll let you go then.
So
I guess.
Gregor, I mean, I'm sure some people listening will know this. But he's
if anyone's even listening.
Yeah, he's in an episode of the Clone Wars. Literally just one.
Oh, just a single one.
And then he reappears again in Rebels. So in Rebels, Rex is living on an ATT walker that he's repurposed. I got that over there. So it's a Lego set.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna break it after we finish recording.
And he's living with. It's Rex, Gregor, and Wolf. I don't know. You probably don't remember Wolf.
I don't know who Wolf is, dude.
But, so, until now, that was a weird gap because we see Gregor, and he mentions this in this episode, in that one episode of the Clone Wars, and then at the end of the episode, he seemingly sacrifices himself and is killed in an explosion. And then we see him again in the Clone Wars, or in Rebels, rather, which is literally like almost 20 years later.
And he's fine.
Well, he's crazy. He's alive, but he's crazy. Like, more so even than in this episode. He's kind of lost it. And so we didn't really know how he survived. And, well, honestly, this episode does not actually show us. It just shows us him
alive.
Yeah, so he is a recurring character a couple times now. He shows up a couple more times in Rebels. He dies at the end of Rebels, doing a cool thing. So, yeah, that's Gregor. He for some reason, he doesn't seem to be wearing his proper armor. Maybe because it was destroyed in the explosion. But in the Clone Wars, he's got the Clone Commando armor. Right. Which is what he's wearing, but it's he's got yellow markings, and he's over there, and he's got.
I think I see him.
His helmet is covered in.
Is he right at the end towards me?
Yeah, his helmet is covered in
You know we're pointing at because it's an audio format, but I'm pointing at something.
I got a little Lego minifigure of him.
Well, now they can't guess. I can't imagine how it looks.
And his helmet's got tally marks on it, presumably for all the men he's killed. No, probably droids.
It's kind of dumb to do droids because there's a lot of droids. Why are they telling droids? They're just droids.
Right. So. Yeah, that was cool. That was unexpected. I didn't see. Yeah, I didn't expect him to show. I guess it makes sense. Like if I had thought about it for a second, and now because of this, I'm thinking we're probably going to see the same sort of story for Wolf.
Perhaps in season 2 or something.
Yeah, of how we got him, because that seems to be a bit of a recurring theme. Is like some of the clones are good and redeemable. Obviously, because the Bad Batch is redeemable, then it's like Hauser and Ryloth there, and obviously Cutler Quain and Rex and now Gregor. So, yeah, that's all cool.
Now, here's a side, not to sidetrack you as you're getting going. Did Cutler Quain get his inhibitor chip removed, or does he still got that rocket around his brain?
So like this is a question, right? Of a lot of clones who we have not seen directly commit Order 66. I would say, like, odds are he just has it, but it probably will never come up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, he's never around any Jedi.
It's not clear if or how the inhibitor chip affects you if you weren't near a Jedi. Like, people were wondering that about Hauser, right? So Hauser, who's the clone from the Ryloth episodes, he immediately became like something of a fan favorite. Everyone likes him. He's got cool armor. He's got a cool face. He has cool hair and stuff, and everyone likes him. But they're like, man, I wonder if he killed any Jedi, though. That kind of dampened it a little.
Yeah, really bring it down.
And, like, the answer is probably just we don't know. Just like we didn't know with Rex and them for a while. Until we got Season 7 of the Clone Wars, and now, obviously, more so in the Bad Batch here, we knew that in Rebels, you can see scars on Rex, Wolf, and Gregor. They've all removed their inhibitor chips by the point of Rebels. But we didn't know, at that point, when that happened.
Right.
So, obviously, they could have removed them at any point between the last time we saw them
and 20
Rebels.
Years.
Obviously, like in Season 7, we see that Rex removes his during Order 66.
Well, it is removed Ahsoka removes it because he's knocked out.
Like forcibly during Order 66. It appears they never addressed it. I mean, for that matter, they have yet to remove the inhibitor chips in the Bad Batch.
No, they did.
Did they get them all?
Yeah, they got them all.
Oh, my apologies. Huh?
Because they do them all. No, they're going to do Wrecker first.
Yeah.
And then they knock out Wrecker, and then when Wrecker wakes up, they all have theirs removed.
Oh, okay. All right, good. But obviously, I would say they still haven't gotten Gregor's, because he might not know. The thing about the inhibitor chips is that they were a relatively, like, unknown quantity to the clones. Like, there's a whole arc in Season 6 of the Clone Wars where Fives discovers their existence, essentially.
And freaks out.
Yeah, and he like, goes all conspiracy theorist about it, but no one really believes him. But Rex obviously, like, took it to heart a little, because then he knows about it in order to tell Ahsoka about it. And then, obviously, he tells the Bad Batch about it. Yeah, Gregor probably doesn't know about it yet. But again, it's probably just like an off-screen, we'll just take it out kind of thing.
Yeah, like, we'll see him and be like, oh, look, I got taken out, guys. I'm crazy.
Yeah, essentially. Or, like I said, I think I theorized this at one point, like, the Kaminoans are going to use the inhibitor chips to reverse against the Empire. And we started to get a little bit of that in this episode.
A little taste. But
yeah, I think they're... they got to be at this point setting up. I think all these things are going to come together for the finale, because there's no way... It'd be bizarre if, like, they took another week off again where they did a weird filler episode, and then I think the next 2 episodes are going to be consistently about the plot, and all this stuff's going to come together.
Yeah, come to a head.
They seem to have kind of been foiled, but I don't think the Kaminoans are down and out at the end of this episode.
Because they still got that scientist who,
I
mean, actually made the clone, so she'll probably be able to do it better. The Prime Minister just kind of is the figurehead. He just moves around.
Yeah, truly. Well, and Ton Wei has been, like, acting against him the whole time. Sorry, wait. Which one? I think Lama Su is the scientist. Ton Wei is the Prime Minister. So Lama Su has been acting against him.
Could not tell you.
I think, but we know that
Namaste?
Lama Su has been acting against him all season, right?
Right.
Because he's like, kill Echo or Omega, I kill her, and she's like, no, I don't want to.
I'll bring her back so we can use her.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to mention is the Commandos. So this is technically like only the 3rd time maybe we've seen Clone Commandos, other than that other episode with Gregor, like I said. The Delta Squad appears very briefly in one episode of the Clone Wars, and then we don't get much of them. They're in Star Wars Battlefront, but that's not really a Star Wars I meant to say a story appearance, because that's just a video game where you just play with them. But yeah, I don't know. I like the Commandos. I talked about it a few weeks back, but I really like the video game. I wanted a whole thing about that. So I liked their inclusion. I like their armor. I like that Gregor pointed out, he was like, are you guys Commandos? You're wearing commando armor, because they are. At least the body armor, not their helmets, obviously.
Right, yeah.
Hunter
clarifies.
Wrecker and Crosshair were all wearing commando armor when they were in the... Well, when Crosshair was in the Bad Batch, he also wore commando armor. Echo wears, like, reg armor, and then Tex just has something weird, because he's weird.
Is it weird? I'm weird.
But so I thought that was a cool inclusion. I really liked how their helmets glowed. I don't know if you noticed that at any point.
I did notice that.
Their visors are blue, and they actually glow in the night, which is, again, something from the game. And then, in particular, most of the Commandos, I think actually all but one that we see this episode, are just wearing just plain white commando armor.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
But one of them in particular was wearing a certain pattern of black and orange commando armor.
He's Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, he's Scorch from the video game Republic Commando.
The game I've played.
No. Hold on. Game I've played.
Oh, yes. The game I've played.
No. But so, Scorch is a member of Delta Squad, and he appears very briefly in this episode. Really, it's hardly even a cameo, because like he doesn't do or say hardly anything, but he's there.
And that was a big cameo everyone was so excited about.
Well, I was excited. I don't know everyone.
Everyone who would be excited was excited about it.
I thought that was cool. I mentioned to you, I don't think I ever have said it on the show here, but that I've been thinking, rather, that Delta Squad could be like a sort of foil to
the Bad Batch.
Obviously, this season, the foil has been Crosshair the whole time. But as I've said a few times...
hardly the foil.
Well, whatever. Real. He's been the guy. He's been the Imperial who's been most, like, intent on seeking them out, right?
Right.
But, as I've said a few times, I hope that they just get Crosshair back at the end of this season. That's my hope, at least. And so, for the next season, if there is one, we would need a different threat. And I think Delta Squad would be, if anything, better. Instead of Crosshair and his, like, gang of losers.
His gang of just enlistees.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool if it was Delta Squad.
I mean, he probably will be with the Bad Batch.
I mean, let me put it like this. His inclusion in this episode, I think, is not nothing. No, I say that. I was gonna say, generally speaking, if they go through the trouble of modeling a character for the animated shows, that means something, right?
Of course. I mean, because this animation is not more on the higher end. It's 3D.
Especially given, again, that they was mostly plain white commandos. The fact that they had one that was Scorch in there, I think, says something. Now, I kind of got in my own head about it and maybe convinced myself otherwise because, like I did say, he is in an episode of the Clone Wars, so they could have just reused that model. But I don't know. I guess I'm going to hold out hope that they did that on purpose because they're going to use him and the rest of the Delta Force or Delta Squad in the future. I think that'd be really cool.
If I knew who they were, I'd probably think so too.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm hoping that next season of Bad Batch, that they will, if they are, as we say, we're working on the assumption that you're correct and they're the foil, and that, let's say, Crosshair goes back, so we have a whole Bad Batch back plus Omega, and we have the Delta Force to be their foil. They really just got to do plot. I got to be honest. Like, most of those episodes better be plot, or they got to be less episodes. Because I wasn't a fan of a lot of these episodes.
Yeah.
Because they just weren't, like, nothing happened. Like, you could skip them and nothing would change. Like, you could watch the first 4 episodes of this and one in the middle, and then this one going to the end, and probably not miss that much.
You're probably right for the most part. I mean, I just enjoy it because it's Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like, I'm having fun. Like, there's not been an episode that I've really hated, but I do agree. Some of them or a lot of them rather, are more or less sort of impactful than others. But I don't know. I think it's not so bad. I guess if you gave me the option of having all 16 or like just the 8 really good ones or whatever, probably would just take them all still.
I'd probably take the 8. But then again, I don't really like Star Wars as much, so that's not a knock on anybody who does want all 16. Just my preference.
I guess I should. Well, I kind of realized I never really explained to you what Delta Force or Delta Squad is. Sorry, fuck. We're gonna keep doing that.
I did it on purpose.
So Delta Squad, there's 4 of them, right? Because at least at one point, I don't know, canon is weird, but Clone Commandos worked in squads of 4.
Right.
There's 4 of them. It's Boss is the leader. He's the orange one over there.
Boss Nass?
No, he's just called Boss.
Boss?
And then Fixer is green. He's like the tech guy. Well, so here's the thing. The reason I said that is because people have pointed out, I think as early as like their introduction in the Clone Wars, or even maybe earlier when those storyboards like that I've talked about before, the animatics were released about the Bad Batch, is that the Bad Batch is in a lot of ways just a canon
version.
Delta Squad. Because, like I said, Boss is just kind of the rough and tumble leader, which would be Hunter. Fixer is the tech guy, so he would just be tech.
Yeah.
Sev is their sniper, so he would obviously be Crosshair. And he's like the same kind of thing. He's like this gruff, like raspy, like kind of guy.
Snaky man.
No nonsense man. And then their demolitions guy is Scorch, he's like the jokey comedic relief one.
Like Wrecker.
Which literally, almost lines up 1-to-1 with the Bad Batch. At least prior to the inclusion, obviously, of Echo and Omega. So that's why I think they would, that would be a proper foil. Instead of just one of the Bad Batch fighting the whole Bad Batch, if you had 4 guys who were almost exact kind of foils to members of the Bad Batch, I think that'd be cool.
And I think that would even help the story, because if I'd almost lead into Crosshair coming back and make a better story for season 2. Because if Crosshair comes back, then it's 4 against 4, they all line up. But also they have Omega and Echo, who the other team doesn't have.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of like, well, now they can, after in a team fight, they're kind of up 2 men. Like, they got 2 guys up on them, so they kind of easier.
But that's still better than what this season has been, which is they've had 4 guys up on Crosshair.
Yeah, Crosshair just beat the hell out of them.
I'm saying Crosshair's never had a chance against them. So yeah, if you did it more like this, then it would be a little even, which would be nice. And I just really like him, so I'd like to see him. And also, there's a similar plot to this in. I'm really digging deep. So there's the game, right? And then there was a series of books. I think there's 5 Republic Commando books, and there was also ones that were meant to be, but never completed, kind of thing.
Right.
And in those Republic Commando books, those follow a different squad of Republic Commandos. It follows Omega Squad, but Delta Squad appears, and those books go all the way up to Order 66, and also past. The 5th of them takes place after Order 66. They're legends, so the chips don't play a role. The clones are actually the recurring theme of that series is that the clones are independent and rebellious, and a lot of them choose to not fight the Jedi and go live on Mandalore.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because their trainer is a Mandalorian. That's a Legends thing that isn't really in canon any longer, but...
Oh, the clones are trained by Mandalorian.
Yeah, basically Jango Fett hired a bunch of Mandalorians to help him train all the clones.
That makes sense.
So he adopts them as his family, and they all flee. But one of the characters in particular does not escape, and is pressed into Imperial service as an Imperial commando, no longer, a Republic commando. And I think he's placed either with Delta Squad because they are down a member, because in the Republic Commando game, Sev goes missing at the end during the Battle of Kashyyyk. And then, I don't know. All I'm saying is like that there's a precedence for this, is like the Republic Commandos becoming Imperial Commandos and like working as, the foil to stop rebels and stuff. So I think it would work. And again, I guess maybe it could be a coincidence, but I got to imagine the reason they put him in there was so that they could set that up and use him and some of or all the other members of Delta Squad again.
Delta Force.
Which I'm really excited for. Because, I don't know, I really like that game and stuff. I told you the other day about the Ultimate Collector's Edition that I bought of it.
Jeez, how much does that run you back?
It is $100.
Wow.
Which isn't awful for, like, collector's editions of video games.
Yeah,
except
not.
When you consider that the video game is, like, 15 years old and costs, like, $9 now. So if it was a $60 game and I was getting other stuff with it, you'd be like, oh, not so bad. But when it's only, like, a $9 game.
And you got $91 other dollars.
Yeah.
Paying for other crap.
It'd be pretty cool, though. I'll probably do a live unboxing when I get it.
Will you?
Yep, on the show.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Good.
Or am I? I'll just do a live unboxing that's just you and me, and I'm going to make you watch me open it.
That's even worse, because then I can't cut that out of my life.
You can't cut it out of your... You can cut it out the show all you want, but you'll never be able to cut it out of your memory.
I'll never cut it out of my eyes.
That's right.
I'll take years of therapy to do that.
Did you have anything else to say?
About the Bad Batch?
Or anything?
About anything in general?
Oh, shit. I almost forgot a thing. Never mind. I'm not nearly done ranting about nerd shit.
That's all the show is, us ranting about nerd shit.
Another cool reference, so beyond just the Commandos and Scorch the Commando in particular, the clones... I can't believe I almost forgot this. Wow. Or rather, not the clones, the Stormtroopers. So they're wearing new armor, right? They're like, what's that new armor? What are all these clones wearing?
It's not quite Stormtrooper armor.
No, it's not. You know what it is, Jack?
How would I know what it is?
So the Stormtroopers, or whatever they are, these proto-Stormtroopers, and they're like, oh, it's clones, and they realize that it is conscripts, right? So this is clearly like the first batch of Stormtroopers. Obviously, earlier in the season, they tested it out with Crosshair's squad there, and now they're like, okay, we're gonna expand it out to a full army, essentially, right? And the commandos are there training them, and Gregor as well and stuff. The episode's called War Mantle. If you remember,
I do remember.
Earlier in the season, that was the name of their project for replacing all the clones with conscripts, was War Mantle.
I did not know that.
Also, it appears in Rogue One.
That's a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Oh, you just said yeah? You just said yeah?
It's a good movie.
There's audio of you saying yeah.
You
hear it first, folks.
When they're in the vault and they're trying to retrieve the plans for...
Death Star?
Yeah, what do they call that?
Operation to Kill the Moon?
No, it's like the name of her, it's the things that her dad called her or whatever. It's like
Clydesdale?
Stardust, that's what they call it. Operation Stardust. No, shut up.
I said Stardust.
And one of the projects that she scrolls by is called Operation War Mantle. And that's what this is.
Right.
All this is just to say that the armor that they're wearing, like you said, it's obviously not clone armor, but it's not quite Stormtrooper armor. What that armor is, it's the Ralph McQuarrie concept art for Stormtroopers.
Huh.
So Ralph McQuarrie is the concept artist who did all the concept art for the original trilogy.
Right.
A lot of which obviously made it into the original trilogy in some form. And a lot of which made it into the prequels and stuff or even into the sequels and stuff. And he was a big inspiration. They took a lot of his designs for Star Wars Rebels, either just between like the stylistic choices or like they introduced new Stormtroopers, which essentially used Ralph McQuarrie designs. They introduced Gareth Zeb Aurelius from that show. He uses essentially the McQuarrie design for Chewbacca.
Oh, is it the big guy?
Yeah, the big purple guy. That's essentially what Chewbacca originally looked like.
Thank God it didn't look like that for real.
What's that?
Well, Chewbacca didn't look like that. That in live action would not look good.
No, that's a lot of the stuff in Rebels, like I'm saying, is reused designs and stuff and repurposed from the McQuarrie sketches. And this is
picture of it?
Stormtroopers that, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool. They got like shields and stuff.
Yeah. In the original scripts of Star Wars, the Stormtroopers all had lightsabers too.
Good thing they took that out. That'd be weird.
No, I think they'd be kind of they'd take a little bit away from the mystique. But yeah, they carried shields and swords instead. I don't know if you ever noticed, it's on clones as well, but there's this little cylinder that's on the back of Stormtroopers' belts. And clones as well, for that matter. Yeah. Originally, that was meant to be a lightsaber.
Oh, like a Shoto blade in the back that you could just yank out?
No. Like a hilt that you would turn on. Like a lightsaber.
Whatever, man.
What?
I'm cutting this out. It doesn't matter. Just all you want.
That was another cool little reference. It was shot absolutely chock full of them this week. Great, good stuff.
And I got none of them.
Yep, no, you didn't. That's why you got me though, so I can explain them to you. You can bask in the wonderment of it all.
I'm basking in something. So let's take a take off Bad Batch,
right.
And I don't know if this is what you're going to jump into, but I'll go do it first. The Black Widow controversy starting.
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
So now it's going to be the 4th week in a row that we're talking about Black Widow
in some form or another.
I hope anybody likes it. I think I'm a pretty big fan of it, but
I mean, this is hardly about Black Widow.
Yeah, we're getting removed from it as we go. But anyway, the controversy is that Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney because in her contract they said they would not do this as a streaming release; it'd be an exclusive theater release, and that she'd lose out of money.
That's kind of it.
In her contract.
You mind if I do it?
Well, now I cut it out. I just did the whole thing.
So, that's not. No, you don't have to cut it out. Let me just elaborate. So for you guys who don't know, Scarlett Johansson, as with a lot of big actors in Hollywood, once you get to a certain kind of level, when you do movie deals, you're not just getting paid. A lot of times, once you have enough sway, part of your pay scheme is points on the back end, they call it. That's how it's referred to. Points on the back end, right?
Yeah.
Which means that you get some percentage points of the gross of the movie, right? How much money it makes at the box office. There's, again, countless of these, right? It's why some people make, like, crazy money. Like, in the past, it's actually been done as, like, almost a way to pay people less. Yeah. Like, famously, Keanu Reeves was part of his pay scheme for The Matrix was, like, he didn't get paid very much, but they're like, we'll give you a couple points on the back end, Keanu.
And then it blew up.
And then he's made, like, I think literally, like, over $100 million off of that all told. Because The Matrix did so well.
Sometimes it works out for you. Sometimes.
Another famous one, they tried to get for the Lord of the Rings movies, Sean Connery to be Gandalf.
Yeah.
And he refused, and they kept trying, and one of their things to try to win, they were like, if you do it, we'll give you these points on the back end. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it also, because Lord of the Rings is so successful, it would have turned out to be like millions upon millions of dollars.
But also, famously in that Sean Connery situation, one of the reasons he didn't do it is because he didn't understand the script. He's like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah. Kind of, I don't really know if I'd want Sean Connery as Gandalf. I think Ian McKellen is kind of
great. I like, wouldn't change it either.
Yeah.
But so, like, what's his name? Robert Downey Jr. has been getting points on the back end of all the Marvel movies forever.
Crazy money. And that's what's made him
I think when
top paid actors.
Right. I think when they got him to do Civil War, because he was not originally contracted to do Civil War, they renegotiated specifically for that movie to get him in. I'm pretty sure he got points on the back end of that. And so Scarlett Johansson, who produced, as well as obviously starred in Black Widow, because she was a star of this one. I don't know if she's ever gotten points on the back end in any of the other Marvel movies before. I don't know if anyone really does other than Robert Downey Jr. I really don't know.
Going forward, they might.
Yeah, you never know. Again, though, you have to be of a certain size nowadays to warrant it. And so clearly for this one, they negotiated that for her because she was the star. And also, like, Scarlett Johansson is literally the most marketable actress in Hollywood.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe her stars waned a little bit, but there was consistently a period where she was the highest paid actress in Hollywood. Probably almost entirely because of the Marvel movies. But so, yeah, because they chose to release it on digital, they needed to kind of reevaluate that pay structure, right? Because their whole deal was that she gets X amount. I don't even know if we know or if it's been revealed or whatever what the percentage is, but it's almost relevant that for the tickets that are sold, she gets a certain percentage of the profit from that, right?
Right.
But so then by putting it onto Premier Access onto Disney Plus, it kind of becomes like muddled. Like, does she get that same percentage, or should they renegotiate a percentage, or whatever the case may be? And they did not do that. And so now she's suing them.
Apparently Kevin Feige's upset about it.
That's what I saw. And that was kind of interesting, because I kind of, as I read more and more about it, I kind of got down the rabbit hole. My opinion shifted back and forth about 6 different times. Because first I was like, man, this is crazy. She must be really, I don't know, angry about this, because I thought was like, if this burns a bridge with Disney, like,
you can't get that bridge back.
Well, right, and Disney. Now, a lot of people are like, well, she's done with Marvel anyways. That's the thing I've seen repeated a lot. And while I think that's probably true for the most part, although you never know if she comes back or not.
Well, at this rate, maybe not.
All right, but while that's true and all, Disney isn't just Marvel. Like, not nearly.
Yeah. To think that is hubris.
Right. The fact that, like, if she really does fully burn a bridge with Disney, that she can't be in any Star Wars or obviously any Marvel properties, or anything Fox. Like,
yeah.
Disney owns so much now to just be like, oh, she's done with Marvel anyways. I don't think it was right. But the more I was reading, a lot of people have said that stuff like this in Hollywood can kind of come down to just being like essentially just a business transaction. Like there might not be any ill will involved.
Yeah, it's just kind of happens. I've also saw right before I saw the episode that a couple celebrities who have worked with Disney have come out and been like, yeah, I know what she's talking with Scarlett.
Oh.
Been like, I know what she's talking about. I don't remember who said it. Some actor was quoted as saying Disney is notoriously difficult to work with. Like how they can really nickel and dime you if they want to.
Yeah.
So I think this is and I'm not really surprised. It's Disney. If they're not making money, they don't want anyone else really to, because then it kind of takes away from them. So I'm not really surprised, and obviously I'm not going to sit here and defend Disney.
But like you said, apparently Kevin Feige was not happy about it, which is okay. So he's on her side kind of deal. So it seems to me that if she wanted to do a project in the future, she probably would.
Yeah.
Like I said, people say that this kind of stuff it really is just kind of business, for better or worse. So they probably there won't be personal grudges on either way of it. I was reading that the creative and business sides of Hollywood studios can be very separate.
Yeah.
So while she may be pissed at Disney for their business decisions, that probably doesn't mean she doesn't want to work with any of their creators ever again.
Because obviously she's a very positive relationship with everybody at Marvel.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Exactly. And again, this supports that. Clearly, Kevin Feige wasn't like, fuck you, you'll get what you want. You'll get whatever we give you. Yeah. He was also like, hey, what the hell? Give her money.
Yeah, come on now. She did the movie. Yeah. She produced it. Give her what she's owed.
I don't know. I would say Disney's pretty much just the bad guy in this situation. You're just give her money. Or the thing is, not even just that. It was that her lawyers reached out to them when they learned that it was going to go to streaming and being like, okay, can we negotiate some kind of pay scheme for this? And they just ignored her. So clearly...
They didn't. The business side of this was we don't give a fuck.
I think that's really what it kind of had. I guess I suppose you could be like, oh, they probably just didn't know or didn't realize or missed it. I think the real answer is probably that someone made the calculated math of it and well, we'll lose more by paying her than we would potentially in a lawsuit kind of thing. So we'll just risk it. And if she sues us, it's whatever.
We'll deal with it. We have so much. What do they have? Something that just in free capital, loose liquid capital, they have $300 million. Yeah. They could throw 2/3 of that away and still have $100 million just lying around doing nothing. That's not anything they've invested in or something like that.
And the other thing, someone had this take, which I really don't disagree with, is regardless of how this ends, obviously the uber rich corporation will still be a very rich corporation, and
the uber rich
celebrity will also still be uber rich. Because again, she's literally the most successful actress currently, so she's got plenty of money. I don't know. I saw some people be like, this is probably maybe her management pushing her as well, because obviously all the money she gets, they get some of, so they're like, well, give us some more money.
Give us all the money.
Yeah. People are really applauding this to be like, oh, this is great. This is she's really standing up for actors everywhere. And I kind of agree with that maybe to an extent. I don't know if I fully buy that. I really do think, again, that it's kind of a business thing, and she's just like, well, I want what I'm owed.
Which is fair enough, I think.
I agree as well. Again, at the same time, I even though I did just say Disney is a bad guy, I don't know if I can be super mad. I mean, it's just shitty. It is shifty. There's no two ways around it. But at the end of the day, they're gonna try to get away with whatever they can. Why wouldn't they try to do that? I guess. I mean, they're just kind of shifty. Everyone knows that about Disney, I guess, at this point. Even though they're a family brand, they're also notoriously
cutthroat and shifty.
So this idea oh, she's standing up for actors everywhere. This is gonna set a good precedent. This is gonna be a watershed moment. That I don't think I can fully agree with, because my thoughts on it are like I said, only big names get these kind of deals. This idea that's just she's sticking up for all the people who got screwed out of their points on the back end. No, that doesn't happen.
Robert Downey Jr.,
right,
Brad Pitt or Leo DiCaprio?
Exactly, because people are like, oh, this is... She's doing a service by fighting this, because the little guys out there, they don't have the resources she has to fight this. While that is true, the little guys aren't getting deals like this. This is not a problem that a young and upcoming actor faces. Obviously, just generally having shifty contracts and stuff is one thing. So, if this just causes Disney to treat their actors better going forward, that's one thing. But, yeah... Specifically being she's standing up for all the little guys. It's the little guys don't get points on their back end. They don't get screwed out of streaming deals because they just get paid up front. This isn't going to come up again for... I was thinking about this. any of the other movies this year, the Marvel movies in particular, I was trying to think. I don't think anyone in Shang-Chi, anyone in the Eternals, or anyone in Spider-Man would be getting points.
Yeah, I really don't think so.
So, like, to act like this is a super common thing, again, if it's just more the general vibe of, like, Disney being shifty and holding them accountable, that's one thing, but this is not, this specific issue does not come up often.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree.
Also, I wanted to say, she's suing them for $50 million, which, to me, is a fuck ton. And that's disingenuous, I think, on her side. Like, she loses me a little there, because I don't think they actually believe that. To me, there's no way, because I was trying to think, and, like, maybe you'll disagree, but even her, again, being, like, the most marketable actress in Hollywood, I can't imagine that she would have got more than, like, 10% of the gross. Like, that seems very high to go to her specifically, right? So let's say that she did have 10% to be generous. For her to be asking for $50 million, that would mean that her and her representation believe that the movie made $500 million on Disney Plus, which there's no way. It hasn't made nearly that much on theaters yet.
And people, and the premiere access is something that people don't like. Like, it's a practice that they don't like about Disney.
If anything, it should make much less money overall.
Because less people will do it.
Like, because, like, you know, you, me, and a third guy joined us, right, when we went to see Black Widow. We paid, like, almost $20 a ticket a piece. Getting on premiere access is $30 flat rate, and you keep it forever. Like, if you and I want to go back to the theater, we have to buy it all over again.
Yeah.
If we had bought it here, the three of us could have watched it and then watched it again every night for eternity.
Ever, yeah.
And they only got that $30 out of us. So I would say, if anything, they made much less off of Disney Plus.
And I mean, those 50 million, the numbers they start out with always probably start high so they can bargain down.
Exactly. Which I guess she can't be faulted too much for doing that, because that is just what I guess you do in situations like this. But I still thought it was lame. I was like, you can't actually believe that, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like that part of it either, because I was like, unless I'm wrong, and maybe she got a greater percentage, but even still, it couldn't have made that much money on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the other thing is, like, apparently piracy's been something of a problem with it, because obviously they released it to the internet, essentially, like, day one. And so all it took is one person to buy it for $30 and rip it, and then it's out there. And obviously the type of individuals who would be more likely to buy it on Disney Plus, as opposed to going to a theater, might also be more likely to just pirate it.
Yeah, just pirate straight up. And plus, it's better quality, so it's just right up Disney Plus, so it's not like you're ripping it from, like,
it's
a theater.
Like, when pirated copies come out of movies early, it's usually, like cam footage from a theater, whereas this is literally, you can rip the HD version from Disney Plus and pirate that. You know, just interesting. Like you said, I've seen other actors come out. I saw it. This was an interesting one to me. Gerard Butler came out, and he's suing, I think it's called Millennium Entertainment, which is apparently a particularly shady Hollywood studio, about his pay scheme for Olympus Has Fallen.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very strange, because that's a movie from like 8 years ago, and a movie that he's made 2 sequels for.
So he's already probably made all that money that he'd want.
That's kind of what I thought. I thought that was weird, but yeah. So again, if it just means that Hollywood studios are better, treat their actors better, that's one thing. Like,
but if it's just to get more money.
Well, that's honestly my thought about it. Is just, at the end of the day, I can't care too much.
Yeah, you can't shake the feeling that it's just because
this was like when there was like the Spider-Man wranglings between Sony and Disney. Yeah. People were like, they were making out Sony to be the good guy and Disney to be the bad guy, ostensibly, because I guess Disney is a slightly larger multi-million-dollar corporation.
Yeah, but Sony isn't. It's like they forget who makes PlayStation.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was crazy to me when people were like, little guy Sony sticking it to Disney, and I was like, dude, Sony is also a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Are we serious right now?
It's just because they want a thing, like.
Yeah, I mean, that was a whole thing too. I mean, we won't get into it too much, but like, I remember thinking that was lame, because to me, Spider-Man should belong to Marvel. Like, Sony did nothing other than buy it and make some fine movies with it.
Yeah.
But Disney owns Marvel, which is still the company that created the character. Whatever.
Yeah, we shouldn't. If we get into it, we'll probably rant about it when we get to Spider-Man.
It's the same kind of thing. It's like, who's really, like, belonging? Like, these are just corporations. And again, like we said, Scarlett Johansson is unbelievably wealthy.
Yeah, she makes more money than most people will ever see in their lives.
Yeah, obviously.
$50 million? That's where I can't even fathom that much money.
That's what I'm saying. Like, to treat her like, yeah, get her queen. It's like, the internet is very bipolar sometimes.
They love their underdog story.
because they love to eat the rich, but then as soon as it's a rich actress, we're all like, yeah, because we hate Disney more. But also, it's like, why is she that rich? Does she need to be that rich?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't mind, but I'm just saying, like, there's so many people who are like, yeah, eat the rich, down with billionaires and shit. And I guess she's not a billionaire yet, but she's on her way, I guess.
Yeah, they're all, yeah.
Like, it's whatever. So again, I guess I hope it goes her way, but I also can't care because she's already rich. She's not hurting.
She's rich beyond her wildest dreams.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they agree? So anyway, that's the end of the episode. You can always find us on Spotify, Podbean, and Amazon/Audible, and Google Podcasts as well, more recently. Still trying to figure out Apple, guys. Being real hard. I'll do my best. And as always, you can email us at akatakjazz. That's akatakjaz@gmail.com. Tell us what you thought. Suggest something for us to watch or something. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
Yep.
And maybe, hey, if you ask a question, maybe we'll respond to it on the podcast.
And we're at Twitter.
Yeah, we're at Twitter. Thank you.
Akatak Jazz as well. Which is Akatak JAZ.
Yeah, same as our email. So if you get the email, you got the Twitter.
Yeah. So if Twitter's better for you, it's there, and then that has a link to our Podbean, which just has the links to everything else. So.
Yeah. So just however you find it, you'll be able to find everything else. And as always, our logo was done by a friend of the show, Jeffrey Gonzalez. You can follow him at inkocean.jpg. And, we wrote it, we produced it, and we built all the sets. And that'll be all. Have a good week, everybody. Thanks for listening. Say goodbye, Zach.
Bye.
There you go.